Well, amazing. Let's go back to Grace now.
Okay. Well, I promised you that last night I would look over the questions that you wanted answers to so
Oh,
that,
you are with all prepared. How nice.
well, the fact that this was important enough for you to do and to take the time that you did to um, write it out on WhatsApp the way that you did, I felt that it would be totally disingenuous to not honor that and put the time into really feeling it and thinking about it and having a response rather than, trying to ad lib and come off the top of my head. So I actually have 2 pages and I wrote some stuff, but then after I wrote stuff, I started thinking of grace in terms of a series of different words because I think that there's so many things that come under the umbrella of grace. So here goes. Grace, the ability to remain humane, caring, loving, positive, open, receptive, understanding the importance of active listening, elegance, individuality, style, personality, wisdom. In my humble opinion, grace is a product of wisdom as well as self assurance or confidence. It defines the woman unafraid to be her authentic self, regardless of the trends of the masses. To me, the benefits are about loving self, life, and others authentically, regardless of what others do, remaining true to self, living in the moment. I'd love to see more women willing to challenge preconceived notions regarding how to be. That is a personal and individual choice. I'd love to see more women unafraid to dig deep and shed information layers or information or messages that no longer serve them. Because, if you're still responding to negative messaging that came from some other point, it's not allowing you to be your authentic self. You can't see your authentic self because you're seeing it through some negative stuff that somebody gave you about you that's probably not true.
Mhm, mhm.
And I think that we all have had that experience at some point in our lives. And I also think that grace is something that, not for everybody, but that it's something that comes with time. You know, the more you have lived, the more wisdom you attain, the more you appreciate the value of grace. And I mean, there are exceptions to everything, but, it's like I said to somebody the other day, just because you become 21 doesn't make you a woman. It just means that you became 21. On the last thing I wrote was shedding old negative messaging has been a quantum leap for me and has led to a freedom I've never before known. And that's something that I think I have a responsibility to share every time the opportunity presents itself to share, that I have a responsibility to do that, especially with younger women, because we're fortunate in that there are a number of younger women who are very curious about older women. They look up to us. They want to know what we think. They want to hear from us. And I think that that's part of the village mentality, you know, where we share our experiences that led us to this plateau.
Yeah, the tribe, yeah, where the way,
Yes,
yeah,
pride. Absolutely. Absolutely.
we need it. Yeah, true. It's a very, very interesting that you said that. Yeah, I had it in
What?
my mind, but now that you said it, it's very clear. We need that feeling of the tribe.
That's right. Because
Mhm.
the other thing is that, and I think this also comes under the heading of grace, that we are all more alike than we are different, regardless of religion or creed or color or any of that extraneous stuff. At the end of the day, we are all human beings here on planet Earth, and we are all connected. Whether we accept that or not, we are all connected. And our
Agree.
needs are all the exact same. And it doesn't matter how much money you have or don't have, our needs are no different.
Yeah, true. Thank you
Yeah,
very much. Thank you very much. It's very, very powerful.
I don't think so. No, because um Maya Angelou,
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
loaded with grace. Would I call her a fashionista? No.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't look at her and say, "Oh my God, I'd love to wear that." No, that doesn't happen with her. However, the knowledge base that she holds on a spiritual level is such that I believe her to have tons of grace. And I look to her often for that because of the wisdom that comes past her lips.
Hmm. 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 Okay. Yeah. Yeah. True. True. And it's do you remember a moment when you first realized that you see grace? You said for the first time, "Wow, this is grace."
Mm, wow, that's a tough one. Wow. Yeah, I don't know that I can. I think that it's something that as you're working on yourself, it's kind of like you're outside of yourself looking down at yourself.
Mhm.
And it's something that evolves as you're working on yourself, as you become more in tune with what is real and what is important. Because so much of what we deal with on this plane is a man made construct. But the essence of life is not about a man made construct. It's about energy and that energy that flows through us from the universe. And that's one of the hardest things for me to really, really embrace and settle in and be comfortable with. The understanding that I was intended here with a specific set of talents that the universe graced me with.
Mhm.
And I have to get out of my head and accept that the universe is using me as a vessel
Mhm.
so that the voice that I need to be listening to for that grace comes from the universe. So I have to get out of my head and stop thinking and what if this and what if that, that I have to stop doing that and allow the universe, feel the universe flowing through the vessel that I am, so that that's what I project out into the world.
Wow. Nothing to say more. You're, yeah, very powerful.
As is the universe, because the more that I'm aware of how vital that connection is, I am actually seeing things happen in real time
Mm-hmm.
that are just blowing my mind. And, the wow factor never diminishes. When that happens and I go through wow, it's as if I'm saying wow for the very first time.
Mm.
It's like I've said before, I don't think that there was any accident that we met and connected the way we did. I think that that's very universe driven,
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah.
and that in that there is so much in the way of blessings and grace.
Yeah.
One more thing. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I sat here after I wrote my thoughts on grace. I put it aside. And then a little while later, I thought, now I wonder if I could come up with a series of words
Okay.
that would define many elements of grace.
Mm-hmm.
So here goes:
Yeah.
self possessed, confident, humane, authentic, elegant, stylish, caring, thoughtful, loyal, honest, loving. Oh, I've got elegant on there twice. Intuitive, intelligent, interested, interesting, curious, affable, extroverted, patient, and goodwill.
Imagine a whole world full of women carrying these attributes. How would it be?
Well, I think that we already have a whole world full of a number of women that already have these attributes. And I think that there are some men who have them too. And because of where we are in the world right now, I think that this is a time when women are connecting more with each other in ways that we've not seen before. And you have women all over the world that are really asserting themselves in this man's world and making it very, very clear that we're here, we're on a mission, and we're not stopping.
Mm-hmm.
And, women are taking the helm in ways that our mothers never got to see.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure that for both of us, that at our ages, when we look at what our mothers were doing at our ages, it was nothing like what we're doing because the world wouldn't receive them that way. And I also feel like I believe that women, so many women already have these attributes that, and I'm not going to get political, but I will simply say that I think that planet Earth would be a totally different planet at this point had there been more women at the helm in governments across the world. Because women are humane in a way that men are not. I don't believe that women are as driven by greed and selfishness and power as are men. I think that women are far more concerned about the well being of the many
Mhm, mhm.
rather than the few. That the women would be the ones who would decide that it doesn't make sense to go to war for the sake of money. That that money that you're going to spend on the war, I believe that women under Grace would choose to take that money rather than doing a war to create jobs, to take that same money and use it to create jobs. Never mind a war. Women are not going to want to send their children to war.
True. Yeah. True.
And I think that there are a lot of these conversations going on now among women. And thank God for things like WhatsApp,
Mhm.
because that broadens our horizons to be able to connect with women outside of our neighborhood or our country, because I tend to think that we in America uh, are often too pompous for our own good. Uh, you know that sometimes I think that we have this mentality here that we're so much better than anybody else, other
Mhm.
countries in the world, because we're so great. Okay, well, yeah, all right, fine. Maybe America was number one at one time, but let's face it, 30, 40 years ago, it was easy for America to be number one because at that time, we weren't having to compete with the brilliance of China or of India or of Japan because they were still coming up.
Mhm. Mhm.
But the reality is that now those countries are powerhouses and America is no longer number one. And
Mhm.
when I look at what's possible in other countries and what other countries pay attention to where their people are concerned, it saddens me because it makes me really look at America and say, that's interesting that those things aren't important to us, you know. And
Mhm.
the final reality to me is that America is the youngest country in the world block.
Yeah.
And we've got so much to learn from other countries, but our pomposity keeps us from doing that. We want to think that we've got all the answers. Wrong.